Okay, I'm starting out with a little bit of more of an inner idea, more of a spiritual thing. So you look at the papers I gave you. I wanted to. Here, you want to share me? Okay, so if you look at the papers I gave you, you'll see. I just printed this. I just learned this mimer recently. I wanted to share it as an introduction. So on the top of the page, you'll see there's two psukim here which are somewhat contradictory. The top pasuk is a pasuk in Aramaic, comes from Sefer Daniel, and it says, if you look at the pasuk on the top pasuk, it says, "I was looking until thrones were set up at the Ancient of Days, and the Ancient of Days sat. Atig Yemin Yasiv." Right? These words are very like Kabbalistic stuff. This is the book of Sefer Daniel. I'm sure you guys ever learned Chassidus, you'll know the word Atik Yoimin comes from this pasuk. Atik Yoimin is considered the highest level of Keser. The higher level of Keser comes from this pasuk, Atik Yoimin. Ancient of Days. So Hashem is called the Ancient of Days. So it says here, Levushe Kislag Chivar, his raiment, his clothing, it should say. Raiment is really complicated. I don't know, that word is weird. We should say clothing. His clothing was white as snow. Usar Reshe Ka'amar Nekei. And the hair of his head was like clean wool. Okay, now, obviously, we have to understand this pasuk is not meaning Kipshutai, Hashem does not have a form, it doesn't have hair. And if you study Chassidus, you study the writings of our sages, you'll understand that this pasuk it's imagery. It was not to be taken literally. So Hashem does not have a physical throne, and he's physically, it's not really physically white. His hair is not. He doesn't have hair altogether because Hashem is not a physical form. But it's all imagery. It's all symbolism. But in any case, using the symbolism that it's stated therein, it's stated that Hashem has his hair is white as snow. Okay. Now look at the next pasuk down. The second pasuk. This is where it can get a little confusing. This pasuk is from Shir HaShirim, from the Song of Songs, chapter 5. So the pasuk says, Roishe Kasem Paz, his hair is as the finest gold. Kvutsoisav Taltalim, Shchoides Koedev, his locks are curled and they are black as a raven. So here we have a very interesting contradiction. Of course, remember that Shir HaShirim, in general, is a little bit of I don't want to say dangerous. It's a little dangerous to study it if you're not really, if you're not trying to really understand it properly, because the translation of Shir HaShirim is very, if you would just read it simply, you would just interpret it as a romance type of a thing, a romantic type of a poem, God forbid. But really, the meaning is much deeper than, it's not just romance, it's referring to, when it refers to the man in Shir HaShirim, it's referring to Hashem. And when it talks about the woman in Shir HaShirim, it's talking about the Jewish people. And even the word Shlomo that's used, the word Shlomo, the Rambam says it's in Shir HaShirim, it's always to be taken as meaning Hashem. Shlomo does not mean Solomon, right? Okay.
And the woman is Israel.
The woman is Jewish people, right? At one point, it calls in Shir HaShirim, it calls the woman Shulamis, right? But we know again that the name in this case also Shulamis this is not a physical woman; it's referring to the entire Jewish people.
How is Israel called Shulamis?
So Rashi says, the Mefarshim say over there that there's one interpretation is that the Jewish people, their capital is the city of Yerushalayim, and Shulamis means someone who lives in Yerushalayim, like Yerushalmis, right? It's one of the interpretations. Okay. Anyways, so the mimer below talks is a very interesting mimer, and the mimer discusses this contradiction. Let's look inside for a moment at the mimer. Okay, so it says Hine Ksiv. I should have wrote the place. The mimer. This mimer is on page. I think it's on page 13 in the Maimarim of Shir HaShirim in Yichud Torah. Okay, so it says Hine Ksiv Usar Reshe Kama Nikei, that it says his hair is like white clean wool. Shasayet Him B'chinas Lavnunis, that the hair of Hashem, so to speak, is white. But then it says in Shir HaShirim, it says his locks are curled black as a raven. How does this make sense? So the Maimer continues and says, so Hashem, so this side of this hair, so to speak, is how Hashem reaches out to this world. Hashem is communicating. Hashem is giving His infinite light to this world through hair. Just like a hair is it's like a tzimtzum. It's like a very minute amount of life that comes from your body into your hair. So too, this represents. These are called hamshachas. We call it hamshachas, right? Yeah, we had in Tanya. Yeah, it's mentioned several times in Tanya. This idea. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so he says here. Now, what are these? These are like hair. That their hair goes very, very long away from your body. So this is like the hamshacha. This is like the drawing down that comes. Hashem gives into the universe. And that's what the word taltalim, which means like curly locks, curls. It refers also to the hills and the hills, mounds and mounds of halachas, of laws, like it says in Mishlei, Shal Sala v'Tnei Mimcha. It says in the pasuk in Mishlei that it says there, it's referring to like a man who would like put his hands through a woman's hair, but she will uplift you. It says. So again, here also King Solomon is referring to. It says when it's talking over here, the woman. It's referring to the Jewish people or Hashem. Again, this is all symbolism, right? But the word salsala over there, that in other meaning to say that actually, I'm sorry, the opposite. It says this is referring to the Jewish people. The woman in this case is talking about the Torah, I think. So salsala, it says you will check her hair and she will uplift you. So in other words, so in this case, it's referring to King Solomon is saying that the woman in this case is the Torah. And it's talking about the hair. So Salsala meaning to say, look, Rashi, look, the Alter Rebbe says, Pirush, it means to say, Salsala Kamam Razal, it says that Razal say, Kamahapech Besaide, like someone who would put their hands through someone's hair. So, what is the hair we're talking about in this? What is the hair we're talking about? We're talking now about the hair of the halachas, the laws of the Torah that are considered like hair, right? So the Alter Rebbe says, there are white hair and there's black hair. What's the difference of the white hair and the black hair?
So the Torah has white hair. And
yes.
Black hair.
So the Torah has both white hair and black hair. And that's why in one pasuk it says Hashem's hair is white, and the other pasuk it says his hair is black, because there are two different types of halachas, two different types of mitzvahs. We're on the fifth line. Yesh sayrish imshachim l'sabshim b'chinas labnunis. There are hairs that are drawn down in a way of white. Hu b'chinas chesed. That's chesed. Shein halachas rabbeis mitzvah say. These are the halachas, the laws in the positive commandments. So when we're taking the hair of the Torah, the white one is chesed, and these are the laws of the positive commandments, like the karbanis and the trumas and the maestris and tzitzis and tefillin, Shabbos. So when we are learning the laws, the halachas of positive commandments, it's like we're putting our fingers through the white hair, so to speak. Hashem. These are hamshachas this is white. Why is it called white? Let's go to. Let's just get down there. I'm on. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eighth line in the last word. All mitzvahs are like this. These are drawing down from chachmei law, chesed, in a way of kindness. So when a man puts on tefillin, he is taking a spark that was in the physical world, in this physical leather of this animal. Or when a person eats matzah, and a person is eating the wheat that's physical, that came from this physical earth, and he's eating it, so he's elevating a spark, and that spark is being incorporated in Hashem's infinite light, right, in the mitzvah. So he says, so in other words, we're elevating the physical things through the mitzvahs. That we are connecting them to the light of Hashem, in His holiness. This is the hair that is drawn down from the level of that we say his hair is like clean wool. This is the supernal white, like we're going to learn next week. The man, his name was Lavan, right? And it says Lavan represents the level of Loivin Ha'elyon. White is a pure, clean color. It's no color. It's just light, pure light. So Chesed is compared to white. Okay, now let's go on going a little further on that line. But the black hair, these are the black hair of Hashem, the black hair of the Torah, so to speak, is referring to the laws, the halachas, which came down into the negative commandments. Lahafrid hara min hatoiv, to separate the bad from the good, ulitchoisei min hakdusha, to push them away from holiness. She'enoi oila v'nichol ba'eravai k'dusha. So when you have a piece of non-kosher, a McDonald's cheeseburger in front of you, so that is also a spark. That's also this physical matter. But in this case, we are not going to look for any spark and try to elevate. We're not going to incorporate that physical matter into holiness because that is a negative commandment. We're going to push it away.
So
we're going. So
the black hair is the war.
So black represents. Yeah. So look, he's going to say why is it black in a second. Now he's going to say right now to answer Shira's question. Valzen Namar, on this it says. Bear with me. This is my intro to the laws of Yichud. So I'll be done in a second.
Really good.
Huh?
This is intro.
This is my intro. Yeah, I always like to have an intro. Yeah. Okay. Valzen Namar, people like Chassidus more, so I start with Chassidus and they'll listen to me for the boring stuff too. Okay. Valzen Namar, and here's where this one I wanted to point out. Why is the black hair considered the hair that's connected to the laws of the negative commandments? So the Alter Rebbe says, Valzen Namar shchoris ko'erev. So the pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, his hair, locks are curled black as a raven. What's special about the raven? When you think about the raven, what type of quality?
The prophet brought food to the prophet.
Okay, that's right. A little deeper. Look, what is the nature of a raven? The nature of a raven is a raven a nice bird?
It's a negative bird, right?
Yeah. Why is it a negative bird?
They eat carrion. They eat dead stuff.
Okay, that's also true. But the raven, you'll notice about the raven. It says actually in the pasuk that the raven is a very cruel animal. It's a very cruel bird. It doesn't like to. In fact, the raven itself doesn't even take care of its babies. It says it's like
How do they grow up?
It says Hashem takes care of them. Hashem, yeah. So look what it says. So the Alter Rebbe says, what does it mean that his hair is black like a raven? Pirush ko'oirev shu achzari, just like a raven that he is cruel. Therefore, so too, these hairs, these mitzvahs, these laws, which are the negative commandments, have cruelty in them. It's cruelty. Because even in a non-kosher thing, even in a piece of bacon, right? It's puzzle, it's usher, it's puzzle. It was also created by Hashem. That was also created by Hashem. That also has a spark of godliness there. If it wouldn't have any godliness in it, it wouldn't exist. So this non-kosher animal is also from Hashem. Would not have existed without Hashem's light that's causing it to exist. But this mitzvah, this spark of godliness in this animal, this chazer, right? I was chastised the other day by sometimes saying words that are a little bit too blunt. Someone in my other class complained. No. I use another word in another class. Interestingly, I gave
The P word?
Well, no, we'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, but I just want to say one thing. Last week we were learning the laws about nivel peh, and it says when it comes to nivel peh, we're not supposed to. It's not nice to say certain words which are not necessary, right? Like words like it says, for example, last week I mentioned this, that it says everyone knows why a kala goes to the chuppah, but if someone actually enunciates it, it's called nivel peh, navlus peh.
What's the word nivel?
It's like he's dirtying his mouth. So then the Mefarshim say they're interesting. I was looking last night about this, that it says that this is only in the case when, in other words, when someone has to study, when someone's studying Torah, it needs to be explicit and clear. There's no problem with nivel peh. In other words, we say, well, we don't want, like the Torah doesn't want to call when Noach is letting the animals on the boat on the teva. It says a behema she'inena tohira, the animal that's not clean. And so the Torah was ma'akim. It used 8 extra letters to not say treif. But then on the other hand, it says that when it comes to studying Torah, you can't say it wasn't clean. You say it's treif. You got to say the word clear because people got to know the law, right? So, anyways, I was just saying that sometimes we try not to use words which are not pleasant words. Certain words. like the other day, for example, we said in Hebrew there's no words for reproductive organs. It's just not. It's just not. It's not. It's not able. It's not. So the lashon hakodesh.
Say erva.
Say erva, right? Erva, right? But I was just so. Anyways, in the case of we try in halachically we try not to say the word pig when possible, right? That's what
about saying chazer? Is that
so even the chazer we try to say. And if you look in the Gemara, it says davar acher, another thing, the other animal.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Now, when we're talking, we have to understand what we're talking about. So we could say it, right? In any case, I was just trying to avoid saying that word.
Better saying it in Hebrew than in English. That's my question.
A little better, yeah, a little better.
But it's just an animal.
It's just an animal, yeah. But it says when we're able to use something more of a nicer way of saying
it.
it.
Really bad animal?
It's considered very negative because of
It's so funny because it's so similar to like in terms of internal organs.
That's true.
Human,
I know.
Valves, so like it's like the only
I know someone who has a valve.
Similar.
I know someone who has a valve with that came from a.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
because
We can't say pig.
You can say it. It says we try not to. We try to. I want to tell you that my kids were in yeshiva in school once in Florida, and they came home. This was from school, and then a first grader came home with a report. It said they have to. The project was they learned the alphabet, so it said they have to color in the page, and it said P is for pig.
Oh, my.
And I'm like, wow. I was like, that's odd. From school we would do that because that would.
One of us pig, like it's just animal.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Okay, let me finish off. Let me finish off these halachas. Okay,
I
so.
didn't say that the chazir yachzor.
Oh yeah, that's true. It says that. Yeah, it says in the Medrash that the word chazir means it's going to become kosher. Yeah. Okay, anyway, let me finish off. So even in this animal, even in the chazir, the davar acher, the other animal, right,
Yeah.
pork.
We got it.
So it still has a need. So it still has a godly spark in it. It also has a godly spark in it. Because if it didn't have a godly spark, lo yiskai klan would not exist. V'im kol zeh, so the Alter Rebbe were 4 lines from the bottom. V'im kol zeh lo yala nitzal ki l'shabel l'ratzon v'avai will not. This spark will not be able to come up with Hashem's will in front of Hashem, in front of Hashem. L'skal ba'oidu k'tushas yisbarach to be incorporated in His light and His holiness. Rak nidcha l'chutz, it must be pushed out. V'harei zeh k'mo yachzorius ala nitzuz ala kishaboy. This is like a cruelty to that pig. We are cruel to this animal. We are saying. You don't deserve by not eating it, by not allowing it, we're not eating it, we're not incorporating it in any mitzvah, we're not ingesting it, we are saying we are not going to have any part of you. So we are pushing it away. We are being cruel to this animal. This animal is an animal, Hashem created it. So the Alter Rebbe says, but you are being cruel to the godly spark that is vivifying this creature. But a person must conduct himself with his soul with a midah of achzorius, of cruelty. To stay away from evil. He has to push it away. With many fences and many details and many laws. You have to sanctify yourself. So that's why. So in other words, this is my introduction. So the Alter Rebbe is telling us that when it says Hashem's hair is black, we're talking about the negative commandments. And yes, it seems to be cruel. It's cruel. But yes, we have to be cruel sometimes. A lot of people think, the Jews in Israel are so cruel to those poor Arabs. They're not letting them live in Israel, or they're being cruel to them, or they're being cruel to the Palestinians, or we're being cruel by not letting. Why can't non-Jews inhabit Israel? There's a law you're not supposed to sell your house to a non-Jew in Israel.
There is?
Yeah. Why? That's so cruel. Why? I have another question. Why? In other words, here is let's say here you have let's say there's a woman, and she likes this guy, and the guy is not Jewish, and she really likes him. She could. Why can't she marry him? We said, well, there's a negative commandment. A woman's not allowed to, a Jewish person cannot marry a non-Jew. Well, that's cruel. What about that other person? What about that cute non-Jewish girl who's a Jewish guy, has a crush on her and likes her? And we say, no, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. You're a Jewish guy. You're not allowed to live with a non-Jewish woman. And the guy says, but look, there's a soul. She has a soul. So she doesn't have a Jewish soul, but she has a soul. She's created by Hashem. She has a spark of godliness in her. Why do we have to push her away? So the Alter Rebbe is telling us, yes, that's why it says, Shchoyres ka'orev, that the black hair, so to speak, the halacha is about negative commandment, that mitzvah laws say, are black like a raven. The raven is a cruel animal, and there's an element of cruelty in negative mitzvahs. Yes, there definitely is. But we have to realize that really it's not being cruel. It's really not being cruel, because you're not being nice to the non-Jew who wants to have a house in Israel. Well, you could say, well, why do you have to be cruel to him? Because there's a negative commandment here involved here, and by distancing in that case, that's kindness in a sense. So there's the kindness which is white, the loivina elya, the white hairs, and then there's the black hairs. We have to understand this. When people think, oh, it's so sad, breaking up, if like I said before, like a non-Jewish girl, you can break up with her, not be involved in her. That seems cruel to people. But yes, that's why the Torah calls the hair is black like a oirin, black like this cruel bird. So we have to realize this, not to be fooled by especially it's hard for women, because women are very, very easily swayed by emotional, when someone gets up to talk about the plight of the Palestinians in Israel today, if you have like a heart, you can start to really feel bad. You feel bad for, it's so horrible what the, I'm just saying, all of this it's all PR, but you have to understand that there's an emotional element here, and people sometimes can succumb to it's such a rahman, it's so cruel. But we have to realize that we can't become victims to our emotions, and the Torah is mercy. It's not cruelty. And in this case, yes, there's an element of cruelty. So we're pushing away the cheeseburger, pushing away the McDonald's, pushing away the bacon. It's cruelty to the spark, that divine spark that gives life to that bacon. But that's the mitzvah, and that's why it's called black hair.
It's not cruel, not in cheeseburger.
Why?
Yeah, to the divine spark.
Why? Why is it in the garbage?
Because we're not capable. If you were, it would have been kosher.
So,
We're not capable of elevating that spark.
So what are you doing? You're putting it in the garbage, and it's gone. So it's this divine spark
You didn't put it
has
in the
no.
garbage. Other people can eat it who are non-Jews, because it's not an issue for them. Those people.
Well, what if let's say the example of the non-Jewish girl that really likes a Jewish guy, and we're saying, well, that's not kosher. Wouldn't you consider that cruelty to her? That she wants to be with a Jewish guy, and we're telling her no, and she says, and she has no interest in Judaism. So that's cruelty. Yeah, it is cruelty. If she wants to convert, it's another issue. Then that's a different issue. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes things are cruel, and that's why we say shchoyres ka'orev. That there's an element of there's the white, the halachas which are white hair. These are things that we elevate through a direct way, through our open kindness. We are bringing it in to kedusha in a direct way, and then there are elements that we are elevating by staying away from them. And in essence, it says, later in this mimer, it says that the mitzvahs, the negative commandments, are in fact even higher. It says, for example, like the case of, like it says, like in the Zohar, it talks about the prostitute, the Zoina, that the king hires a prostitute to test his son, to see if the son is going to be strong and not to succumb to temptations. So ultimately, the prostitute, the Zoina, she's hired by the king. She doesn't really want the son to succumb. And the point is a test to elevate both of them. It's elevating both of them in this case. So the son being strong and staying away from her, that's the purpose. That's the purpose of, we say, so shchoyres ka'orev, they're black as ravens. Okay, that having been said, we're going to learn now about the laws of. Sure.
So this law about not selling your house to a non-Jew in Israel, is that Torah law or is that modern law? Is that the law in modern Israel?
No.
It's look in the Rambam. It's in Shulchan Aruch.
Okay, but it's not a modern law. They're not using.
No, a modern law. No, they
Modern law
never.
doesn't sell to anyone.
No, not modern law. No. It's a Jewish law. It's a law in Shulchan Aruch.
All right.
Okay.
It's a big issue then in Israel. If you think about it, for some people, when they sell their house, Let's say you don't know.
By the way, it's not. By the way, I want to tell you something. It's not only a law in Israel; it's also a law in Brooklyn.
What do you mean?
Yeah, there's a halachic problem for a Jew in Crown Heights to sell their house to a non-Jew.
How's that?
Right. Check it out.
No, I mean,
Yeah, in a Jewish community.
Oh, because it's a Jewish community.
Yeah, but Jewish community. Anyways, I'm going to go a little further. Okay, let's. Okay, so we're looking now. Look in the next page of your packets, and we're looking now at the laws of. So it says in the pasuk, "L'sikrifu legalis erva," you shall not come near to uncovered nakedness. So if you look at the word erva, I have written here on the pages. Everyone have papers? Okay, here. Okay. I see people watching my class online, but I don't know how to show them this. Okay. Okay. Maybe we can figure out a way to post it or something. So maybe, is there a way to do that, like while we're studying? Whatever. Okay.
Not while, but after.
After. Okay. Okay. So we have a Torah commandment. There's a law. There's a halacha in the Torah. There's a mitzvah in the Torah. It says, that one should not come close to uncover nakedness. And the word nakedness, erva, is translated in two ways. Number one, nakedness can mean, erva means, nakedness. But two, and this is in the main translation, it's forbidden relationships. We call this gilui erva, revealing the nakedness. If you're studying the Torah and you're trying to understand it like without any guidance at all, people might get really confused, or you can't uncover the nakedness of your mother, like you can't, what does that mean? So it means when we say gilui erva, gilui arayis means intimate marital relations. Okay, so this is from the Rambam in the Laws of Forbidden Relationships. Whoever shares physical intimacy with one of the arayos without actually becoming involved in so the word arayos is so arayos would be plural for erva, right? So the word erva. Erva would be singular, and so arayos would be plural. Arayos becomes plural. Okay? Arayos. Okay, it's the same. It's just the plural, physical and singular and plural. Okay, so when the Torah says gilui erva, it doesn't mean when we say incest. Incest means when a man and woman who are related in these certain ways if they would be intimate, it would be considered it would be called erva, gilui erva, revealing the erva. The Tzemach Tzedek writes a very interesting thing. The Tzemach Tzedek in Derech L'Tzecha says that really we find that like our forefathers married their relatives. Like Shimon married Dinah, they married their sisters. I said in my other class about that. So the Tzemach Tzedek writes that the forbidden relations actually are very high levels in Atzilus. Like I said in another class that my sister refers to these. My sister, my mother, my daughter, refers to various levels, spiritual levels. And it says that we call them in Hebrew yichudim. A yichud means the joining of a mashpia and a makabel, which is the man and the woman, the female and the male. And this exists on spiritual levels. So yichud, the union of arayos, of so to speak, these types of relationships, of forbidden relationships, really show on very high levels in Atzil, the world of Atzilus. But the Tzemach Tzedek says that it's not able to trickle down and come down into the way in this universe in Seder Shtalshalus, these high revelations were not able to be revealed, and it got associated with very harsh klipos, very harsh and bad things, evil and bad things. So therefore we say Gil. Why is it called Gil? Revealing the nakedness. It says because Gilu Yerva means revealing these yichudim that are in Atzilus, but can't be revealed down here. And if they're revealed down here, it's very, very, very considered extremely, extremely negative and wrong, right? In any case, so when it says Gilu Yerva, it doesn't mean to see; it means to do this act. However, the Rambam is telling us that if someone is not involved, so let's read it again. Whoever shares physical intimacy with one of the arayos without actually becoming involved in marital relations, the act itself, or embraces and kisses one of them out of desire and derives pleasure from the physical contact. So on this it says to refrain from performing any of these abominable practices, And it says, do not draw close to reveal nakedness. Implied is that we are forbidden to draw close to acts that lead to revealing nakedness. Okay, this means to say that we are not allowed, that a man cannot kiss a married woman. Let's say his wife has a friend, it's his neighbor, she comes over and they want everyone kissing each other. A man is not allowed to kiss a married, if she's married to another guy, that's considered erva. Erva.
Even a single one would be weird.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm going to get to that in a second. So erva means erva means it means a incestuous relationship, or any type of a relationship which would be considered. A married woman is also erva. Homosexuality is also erva. A man and a man would be considered erva, right? So even if they're not doing the actual physical marital act itself, but other types of romantic behaviors like kissing, hugging, etc., if it's done romantically, is forbidden. It's a mitzvah. It's prohibited from the Torah, but that's what it says. Lo ysikru l'galas erva. Okay, a person who engages in any of the above mentioned practices is considered likely to engage in forbidden marital relations. So this is a quote from the Rambam, that this is considered prohibited from the Torah. Now, what about, that's talking about if people are being romantic, but what about just being in the same room together? What about that? Is that connected? Is that the same? In other words, can a man be alone with another woman in a room? He's not being romantic with her. Is that considered l'sikru l'galas erva? So, not necessarily. Let's look at the next word in the page, and it says yichud. Yichud means privacy, seclusion, right? Okay, let's look at number one. It is forbidden to enter into seclusion with any of the women forbidden as arayos, even if she is an elderly or a young girl, for this leads to forbidden relations. The only exceptions are a woman and her son, a father and his daughter, and a husband with his wife, who is in the nida state. Okay, so in other words, so minat Torah, there are opinions that say that being alone with someone who is considered erva for you is considered l'sikru l'galas erva, because it's going to bring you close. Psychologically, when a man and a woman are in a closed place together, that no one else would know if anything was done, anything wrong was done, that is psychologically is bringing us to a state of l'sikru. It's getting close to a forbidden act. And according to many opinions, it's asa b'nat Torah. It's considered a part of this prohibition minat Torah, because it's l'sikru. It's getting close. Okay. I want to tell you about this, about the idea of yichud. People have to understand, yichud doesn't only mean physical place. Yichud can also mean, it means psychologically. So in other words, if a man and a woman are becoming romantically involved, that's already the concept of l'sikru l'galas erva. If it's considered erva, that is. As if a married woman is having a virtual affair online, let's just say example. Well, she didn't kiss or hug anyone. It wasn't yichud, she wasn't alone with someone in the room. Well, that's going to be a serious issue of l'sikru l'galas erva, because yichud doesn't have to be being alone in a room. Yichud could be a problem with yichud when there's 300 people there, because it depends on how you're talking to someone, how you're interacting with someone, and that also could be a question of yichud. Yichud doesn't only mean in a physical place, but really a physical location is automatically generates yichud. That's psychologically, Hashem created us, He understands us. It's not anyone's fault. No one should think, I'm a tzaddik, I would never, God forbid, I would never consider ever doing something with the neighbor's wife. It doesn't matter what you think you are. Hashem understands you and your evil inclination, and it's prohibited to be involved in this situation. This is considered a l'sikru l'galas erva, as we said before. But now, let's continue. Okay, so we said before now, the only type of erva which the Torah allows, which would be considered permissible to be alone with, so to speak, he says the example of the mother and her son. Because it's so unthinkable that a mother would ever do anything romantically, maritally with her son. It's so unthinkable, or likewise a father and a daughter. So therefore, this erva is not a problem of yichud at all. And similarly, a husband and his wife. Now, remember, interesting. I wanted to point out an interesting thing. The definition of erva is any man or woman that if they would have marital relations, they would be guilty of what we call an isur kares. An isur kares is a very serious Kares means incision or the cutting off of the soul. Biblically or Talmudically, if someone got kares, he would usually not live past the age of 50. What does a person do to get kares? God forbid. Well, kares is these types of forbidden relationships are, we say, a person is chayiv kares. So if a person commits adultery, God forbid, that would be chayiv kares. Yes, right. So another type of kares. So another isur kares. So now another isur kares.
Age 50.
Yes, even though and you look in the Tanya, it explains why that doesn't work anymore. The Gemara already says in times of the Gemara, it wasn't working in that way anymore because people were very sinful and lived very long lives.
They had an impression of life.
Right. So if you look in the Tanya, if you look in Tanya in Negaz Tshuva, he explains that they had an impression of Rishima, because nowadays, because we are in the time of Gullus, so our life is not coming from a purely spiritual, purely godly place, but coming from Klipas Noiga. So therefore, a person is able to continue living because of our. Another, we say our lowliness is actually fixing us, so to speak. So a person who, like we say, the Alter Rebbe says, someone whose head is cut off is dead. But nowadays, someone can have their head cut off and sew it back on because they're not going to die right away, because they're getting life not only from their head, not only from the soul, but from other sources. In any case, a man and a woman who is a nida, a woman who is menstruated, this is considered isur kares. If a man and a woman are intimate or are involved in the marital act, this is also an isur kares. The unique thing about this case is that the baby would not be considered a mamzer in that case, although other cases it would be. And the other thing is that because a man and a woman, because a husband and wife, that is a husband and wife are, because of the fact that later this woman is going to go to the mikveh and she will become permissible for her husband. So the Chazal said the Isser of Yichud does not apply in this case, unless they just got married and yet have not yet been intimate, in which case we say it would apply. So a chas and a kala, they get married. If the kala is in the state of nida, they're not allowed to sleep together in the same place. They have to have some shortness.
You would think that there would be more of a restraint because they haven't been initiated any intimacy yet. You would think they'd have more of a restraint than a couple who's already been married. There's already
right. So the answer, right. The answer to the question is that it has to do with the fact that there's, I guess it's they're very the drive of doing it is very strong because they've never yet experienced it. So for that reason, there's more of a fear that yichud would bring them to violating the violate. Whereas if they're already a married couple, we say, well, they're just going to wait a little bit and it'll be fine. We say that something that's going to become permissible in the future, a person is not going to be as driven to do something wrong if you could just wait a little while, right? Okay. Now these are the laws of yichud. So in other words, it's considered an isur min haTorah to be misyached with a woman, a man and a woman together, if the woman is considered impure, because that would be an isur kares. That would be a serious infraction. Min haTorah. Now midrabanan. What about yichud with a man and a woman who's, let's say, a woman who's not in nida? Remember that any woman who's ever a nida at one point, she will be a nida until she gets married, until she goes to the mikvah. Correct. So any girl after puberty would be considered isur kares for any man if she gets married without going to the mikvah, or if she's involved in a romantic relationship, in a marital act without going to the mikvah, that would be considered isur kares. However, now what about a what? For both of them. Yes. And by the way, I want to tell you, even if it's an interesting thing.
So even shomer negia, it's like it's in a, like being shomer negia is like it's one of the issues.
A serious, of course, it's a very serious issue.
No, I know it's I'm talking like nida is an extra thing that like.
Okay, so
makes it more like.
No,
cool.
right. So let me explain.
Yeah.
Let's go down to number 3 on the page. Number 3. Okay. Oh, you want to do number 2? Oh, okay.
Just because I didn't get it, said if, however, a person distances himself from entering into privacy, even when the male or animal is free.
Right. Okay, so. Okay, let me explain to you. Okay, so I skipped it intentionally because I didn't want to get. I wanted to go get into single girls, single women who or let's say even another. I wanted to, but let me just answer the question Gil is asking. So there's an argument amongst the rabbis about yichud with the two males together, because two males are it's so gross, it's so inconceivable that a male would have a romantic interest in another male. So there's no, or also an animal for bestiality. The Torah doesn't. In other words, you're allowed to be in the room with your pet dog, because no one would ever think of doing that with their dog. That's really gross, right? Right now. No. So the thing is like this. Unfortunately, there are some really perverted people in the world. There are some people who have really severe problems. There are people who are homosexual. There are people who commit bestiality. So it does say that there is one opinion is one opinion that's brought that says that it is praiseworthy to say, I'm going to remove myself from any state of yichud altogether. That means even if it's another male, even an animal, I will not be alone I don't want to be suspected, even though I would never even think about anything that's considered outside of, heterosexual relationship with two human beings, a male and female. But nonetheless, it's considered praiseworthy. Now, there is a machlokes. It says that the Beis Yosef writes, this is the Rambam is stated, brought down the opinion of the Beis Yosef, who is the author of the Shulchan Aruch, and he says that it is considered praiseworthy. Now, it comes along, there's other sages who come along and say, we have, for example, the Bach, I believe. The Bach says it's really, really extreme to do that. He says it's really, really extreme that you can't have like a boys' dormitory, two boys can't room together. I mean, that's like extreme. And he says he disagrees. He says there's no reason to be that extreme. Now,
like that?
Well, no, with two girls, no problem. Two girls, no problem, because two girls is not. Two girls is not. You see, you have to realize the whole problem of yichud is they might come to do the marital act. So for girls, that is not that fear doesn't exist. Now the sin of lesbianism, this is considered a sin, but it's not. It is considered we say it's k'maisim mitzrayim. It's like the actions, the deeds of the Egyptians who are very very who are very they're very indulgent in all sorts of perverted behaviorisms, including women marrying each other. So, but this type of a relationship does not involve. God doesn't really involve in the marital act, so to speak, which is not right. It doesn't involve. In other words, let's put it this way: two men that are involved in the marital act are officially guilty of a very heinous crime, which was punishable by capital punishment in the times of as far as the Torah is considered in times of Sanhedrin, whereas lesbianism is not. Because the fact is, it's not. There's no action there that's considered punishable. Maybe biblically there could be lashes or something, but not capital punishment. Only corporal punishment. In any case, so therefore the laws of yichud do not really apply. Now, on the other hand, it does say in Shulchan Aruch that if there's a woman who is clearly out of the closet and she is openly lesbian, so it says the person should not really encourage his female members of his household to be visiting that house. So in other words, it's a different, and try to put it lightly. But this is not really a problem of yichud. This is more of a problem of the promiscuity, a different type of promiscuity. But again, the whole problem of yichud is there might come to be the marital act taking place. For that reason, we have to understand that that's the reason why we say that a man cannot be alone with a woman. But if the woman is not able to be a woman is let's say it's a girl who's too young to be, she would not yet be able to do this marital act. Or let's say it's a boy that is not old enough to do the marital act. Let's say it's a boy that's younger than 9 years old. So the Gemara says that a boy, when he turns 9, he has the physical potential to be involved in this act. I don't know how likely it is, but it's considered.
He has no puberty yet.
Yes, no puberty yet. It's true. But it says it would be considered bia, any boy over the age of 9 or older, it would be considered the act, even though it's obviously it's also very much against the law, and it would be considered very wrong. But it would be considered the marital act. So therefore, a woman cannot be alone with a 9-year-old boy in the same place, because because this is considered yichud. If the boy is younger than 9 years old and he's only 8 years old. So in this case, the Gemara says that any type of a unsavory relationship that could exist between this boy and this woman, it would not be considered the marital act. Okay, so again, I know everyone's going to tell me, one second, what about molestation? Like, what about there's people who molest kids, Rahman al-Islam, very horrible, terrible, and disgusting.
Exactly, and that's
So,
supposed to be a lot of
yeah. So I want to say, look, I want to say something. There is definitely a point to be made of being careful of being, I'm not saying taking precautions of molestation, but again, the laws of Yichud don't really involve molestation. It's not really the issue of the laws of Yichud. These are spiritual laws, not so. In reference to being worried about that type of thing, molestation, that's a whole different issue. We're not talking about that now. We're talking now about the laws of Yichud, which only apply to the possibility of the marital act taking place. Okay? Question.
But it should be applied.
Okay, so Shirley's asking a good question. Again, this goes back to what Gila's question was in this sif over here, this paragraph here. So I want to finish off about the Bach. So the Bach says that the Beis Yosef was very extreme in reference to yichud between man and man. He didn't to mention this Rambam and to bring this Rambam as halacha is very extreme. That a man should not be alone with another man. He says a very interesting thing. He says I'll never forget learning this. He says, in those areas where the Beis Yosef lived, it might have been very prominent. There might have been a lot of homosexuality there. But he says, by us, this is the Bach living in Poland. He says it's so uncommon that we don't have to mention this. It's like it's just not even. We don't have to get into this because it's so not normal. He was saying, I think he lived in Krakow or something. That back in the 1600s, he said, is really not. There's no reason to say this. We don't have to say that this is praiseworthy because it's just so unnormal.
So
whereas maybe in that area in Spain or wherever it was, maybe it was more common. Maybe it was a warmer weather. I don't know what it was. But the bottom.
Nowadays, it's
Oh,
like it should
so
be.
now.
But if men wanted to learn together, they'd have to have more than two people there to learn together, right? Is that what that's saying?
Okay. So hold on again. We're talking now again. The law. So far, when we're discussing the laws of Yichud, we're talking about being secluded with a person who would be considered erva, in a secluded place. We're not again. We're going to learn now when we get into these laws. We're going to learn that what if it's in an open place? What if there's more than one person there? What is considered yichud? Is it yichud is one-on-one? Well, what if I have more than one? What if I have two? What if I have three people? What if I have 10 men, 10 women? Is it still yichud? I mean, can I not be alone? And why am I teaching in Machon Chana right now? There's girls. Would this possibly be considered yichud? So we're going to learn the laws that there are leniencies here because not always does yichud apply. In other words, it depends the amount of people there. Depends on the time of day. Depends on the location. If it's in this country, if it's in the city. If you look at your papers, I gave you here. I gave you guys a chart that I made in my Yeshivacation class. I know it might be a little confusing. So for Gila, if you're don't, I hope you don't get confused there. But I gave you guys this chart. There's two charts here. You see the back page? I'm going to go over this in my next class, my next Bias Yehudi class. I'm going to go over this chart. For me, it's very helpful to have a chart like this to show everyone watching. I made this chart because for me it makes it easier to because there are differences of there are different halachas in reference to, like, for example, if one man is with two ladies, that's still considered yichud technically. What about one man with three ladies? What about two men and two ladies? What about?
Even if they're all kosher.
Okay, I'm in my next week's class. I'm going to explain what I was writing. There's a difference between a man. When I say kosher here, I mean to say someone who has shame. Kosher, in this case, when I said kosher, I mean to say a guy who would openly in public, or would not be afraid, or not be embarrassed about. We use the word shomer negia. Someone who is not shomer negia would not be considered kosher in this case because he doesn't have the shame that we're looking for. Someone who has shame, who would not touch or romantically touch someone outside of marriage, would be embarrassed of doing that, is what we considered kosher. The opposite of this, of course, is the word parutz, which I'm going to talk about next week. Parutz means someone who is kind of like we say parutz. No, it could be someone who could be from, it could be religious. Parutz would mean that he doesn't have any boundaries. He's parutz. He is broken. He's open. In other words, there's no shame. There's no shame there. So, in other words, we all have around us, we have a certain social element of like what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. Like normal people are not going to go to the bathroom in the street, right? Some people do. I mean, I see here in the city, sometimes we do fine, but it's very low element of a person who would just go in the bathroom in the street because we have shame, right? So the same thing, there's shame about What?
Everyone goes to bathroom.
In where?
In Israel.
Oh, Israel. Oh, and I know here in Brooklyn.
Aren't you like not supposed to hold it?
Okay, that's another. Let's talk about that in another class.
A rabbi on the side of the street.
Okay, so hold on. We'll talk about that. No, this is a different class. That's a different class. But I'm just trying to bring out that. So we have this certain social element, and so likewise there's certain social. In other words, it's not so someone who is a parut would mean someone who doesn't have those boundaries in reference to romantic display of his feelings with touching, etc. And that would be considered a parutz. So we're going to learn about those things later and next week. Yes, it depends on what type of man it is. If in other words, two men could be okay in the daytime or in the city, but if one of them is a parutz or they're prutzim, then it wouldn't necessarily take place. It wouldn't be the case. And the reason is because we say a parutz might not be embarrassed to be romantic with a woman in front of someone else. So the minute we have a parutz involved, it takes away the fear element. Two kosher guys, two from guys who are with a woman, even if they're thinking of doing something, they're going to be embarrassed with the other guy because they're going to be embarrassed because they don't want to be so that because that concept of embarrassment is very important when it comes to laws of Yichud, as we'll talk about next week. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great.